Welcome to the channel. This is the spiritual samurai scribe. There's a lot of disturbing things that go on in this world. I know many of you out there have had some very traumatic experiences that have scarred the psyche to such a degree that you almost feel like you can't have a normal life. Once upon a time, you might have thought that damn near everyone is soulless. You might have thought that every man or woman is a psychopath, sociopath, or what have you. Just someone that is so abusive that, it tainted your view of humanity. Some people have been born into a world like this, and ever since the beginning of their life, they have been riddled by pain and trauma that almost seems irreversible. They may still remain a good person, but it's because of that empathy that they still have intact is what causes the most pain. It is said that people with high levels of empathy tend to have a higher likelihood of developing PTSD, complex PTSD, because not only do you have PTSD, but you have complex PTSD, which it's additional layers of trauma that make it even harder for your brain to rewire itself back into normalcy. But was it ever normal? That's the crazy thing about it, is that for some of us, we never got to know what normal really felt like. It's almost like we were brought into this world to become natural born warriors. And although that may sound nice and all, oh yeah, you're such a strong, powerful warrior, there's a great deal of pain that comes behind that, to where sometimes we don't really want to fight no more, And not to say that you back down on fighting the good fight. We don't give up on the Most High around here. Our faith is gonna still be at an all-time high, because that's all we got, and that's really the best thing to have, is to have a close relationship with the Most High God. So I'm not going back to atheism or agnosticism, because I already know enough. I have enough spiritual knowledge and wisdom to keep me with God at all times, because God has shown me time and time again how much He's done for me. The best way to survive, especially when you're going through what you're going through, is you have to maintain a strong faith in God. And that's just the absolute truth, And sometimes it's nice to hear comforting words, like these, that can at least bring some form of relief to where you feel like you're not the only person that has to live with that pain of feeling like you're losing your mind slowly. There was a time where I felt like I was losing my sense of reality, because there was so much information in my mind, and then you combine that with the trauma. You see, my way of trying to heal from my traumas and to forget about, well, I wouldn't say forget about it, but my way of dealing with it was I tried to seek as much knowledge as I could, along with working out damn near every day, which includes boxing drills and weightlifting. I needed to keep myself busy. I could not stand to just be idle. I could not be idle, just sitting around, or just because then the negative thoughts start to kick in, and and you just feel like a sense of despair, and depression starts to hit you. So it's really bad. It's really messed up. It's really, really fucked up when you're unhealed, right? I'm trying to think about where my head was, like the type of mind space that I was at when I was not healed completely, like back when I was still going through it, still trying to overcome it. When you're a woman that has been abused by men in the past, especially in your early years, that trauma doesn't go anywhere. You can deal with it. You can learn to, again, you can heal from it, but the impact of being abused by a man when you're a little girl, even just one man, but for some women it's been multiple men that have abused them, so it's like it just adds more layers of pain and trauma that needs to be unpacked. And sometimes unpacking it is so intense that you're gonna wish you never did that because you're not ready. And see that people don't really talk about how disturbing the journey of healing can be. It can get ugly because now you have to revisit the very thing that broke you. So it's something that you have to take slow steps to, because if you try to do too much at one time, it can cause those old memories to resurface and to really, really mess you up. It makes you very depressed because now you're remembering what you've been through, and that could be very intense for some people. Or maybe you feel like no matter what you do, nothing can change what happened to you, and because in reality you can't go back in time and change it. But and honestly, I want to make this video more of like a therapeutic, calming type of video. I don't want to revisit disturbing stuff, you know what I mean? So that's why I don't want to, but if you see my previous videos, you pretty much already know a little bit about my story and things like that. But I enjoy what I do. I write, but I also make these videos because I really want to veer into being more therapeutic with my videos. I don't want to make it too intense. Sometimes, maybe I might throw in an intense video for the purpose of bringing in that fire that sometimes can be healing for some people. But, because you're basically exposing the darkness and stuff like that, and it could be very validating for some people. It could be very cathartic, but I like to balance that fire with a little bit of water too, and the water is basically the therapeutic aspect of like a video like this, where I have the little soothing voice and it sounds so therapeutic and you feel relaxed. That's what I really want to focus on, because for one, it's not only good for you and it's good for your ears, but also it's good for me too, because I'm creating this energy. I'm creating this it's like I am surrounding myself with a healing aura through my words and the sound of my voice, and it heals me, and then in the process I heal others as well. So that's basically what the whole point of this is. And so and of course, again, I appreciate every person that listens to my videos and really enjoys it, and it really gains something meaningful out of it, and something that could really assist them, or something that could really uplift you in some way, at least to make you enjoy life. Sometimes it's like it seems very simple, but it's something that's very powerful, is to know how to make a person enjoy life again, to be able to help them experience the joy that was robbed from them for years, sometimes decades. And I'm pretty sure you've had some people in your life that you've seen them psychologically deteriorate, from depression from past traumas that happened decades ago. A lot of us have generational trauma. There's people that, we lived in a household of people that had their own traumas, and those traumas continued to go on, until someone breaks the cycle. But you've probably had that going on, and you've heard so many disturbing stories about the things that they've been through, especially the older generations too, because at one point, women didn't have rights and stuff like that. Or maybe your parents come from another country where they really didn't have rights, depending on what country, because not all countries are bad like that. But you get what I'm saying. There's certain things that that have happened to us that has been has really messed us up in many ways. When you get in that mode where you feel like you're in a dark place, your mind goes into like a downward spiral, and you feel like you're so isolated and no one understands how you feel. No one understands the level of despair that you've experienced for decades. And the older you get, the worse it is. And then sometimes that could really cause your mental health to deteriorate to the point that not only do you have PTSD that's undiagnosed, but it can turn into something else. It could even turn into other mental health disorders. I would say schiz being a major one. I noticed that people that have a lot of unhealed trauma, eventually that all that complex PTSD, the anxiety, the depression, all these different things combined with spiritual warfare, if you remain unhealed, it can eventually lead to even I would consider the most intense mental health issue, and it would be schiz, and of course that's not the full name, but you know what I mean. Schiz, because I don't know how YouTube is with that term, so I just say half of the word. But the etymology of schiz is split mind. And to me sounds like something that has been fragmented and broken from so many different experiences that have scarred the mind. Really think about how much a person has to go through, combined with genetic factors, because they do say that it's genetic as well. But I also would like to say that there has to be some there has to be some contributors to it as well. Like going through traumatic experiences can definitely do that as well. I mean, there's so many different factors, and they're still studying. The so-called experts are still studying what schiz really is. Where does it come from? What causes it? What's the best way to treat it? And me personally, I'm very interested in that mental health disorder the most, because I feel like not only is it a mental health thing, but I think that there's also another layer, another component that often gets ignored, as it always does, and that would be the spiritual part, which is where the demonic influence behind it and stuff like that. But of course, that's a whole nother topic for another day, and that's something that I would like to really contemplate more about, research more, and really try to ask myself questions, and then try to find the answers to it by thinking about it, and that's basically for the purpose of helping anybody out there that has it, so because I know it's a very damaging mental health disorder to have. It blurs the lines between reality and fantasy, and that fantasy can be a nightmare. And for some people, they hear some disturbing stuff, man, and it can feel real, even though it's in your head, and it's been placed there through trauma, through gang stalking, through neuromonitoring, and so many different other factors that create that people don't talk about this, because they know if you knew what happened to you and what caused your mind to operate the way it does, that causes you to feel so much anxiety, despair, and you don't know what to do and you feel so alone. If only you knew what it was and what caused that, and if only you can just listen to someone articulate what's going on, or what could be the possibility of what's been going on in your life, that alone is very healing, because it's validating. Because now you feel like someone understands, and you don't feel like you're going crazy, because someone has been able to explain it perfectly, or at least I try to, I try my best, because I kind of, in a way, it's like I've been there, but I've been able to really outthink myself out of it, if that makes sense, because I've been accused of having schiz by people because of certain experiences that I've had that are not of this world. So I normally keep certain things to myself, because I realize that people don't understand what spiritual giftedness really is. They also don't understand the demonic forces that continue to haunt a person that has unhealed traumas. You see, there's so much going on in this world when we are walking in this world. There's so much that most people don't understand because they have a carnal mind, which means that they can only understand physical things. They don't understand spiritual influences of the human mind. They like to call that pseudoscience, not realizing that, it's really metaphysics. Metaphysics is outside of the physical. So that's a whole nother thing. But, but please understand that you're really, really not alone in this. I get healed through the work that I do. It helps me, and then also it helps others as well. Some of us have been through experiences where we have felt like we didn't want to live no more. We felt like we wanted to leave the earth prematurely. We wanted to abort mission. Those who have high levels of empathy have a higher likelihood of getting PTSD from their traumas. You gain more out of life when you empower each other. You really do, because the more people that are empowered, the more great things they're going to do, the more they're going to contribute, and the better life can be, you see? But unfortunately, we live in such a damaged society that doing good things for people is viewed as lame, is looked down upon. You're being soft just by showing some compassion. Me showing compassion, what people think it's a weakness. And that's the type of society that we live in. And I don't know if maybe it's just because this is the divided states, or it's the West, but I want to be in a place where I'm at peace, where I'm able to build and truly, rest and heal. And sometimes I get to a point when I think like that. I like to be positive, right? I like to say, well, I'm going to find that right place. At least in my mind right now, I'm at peace, and I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful. It all starts in the mind. So if you have a peaceful state of mind, you're already halfway there. I'm tired of being at war. My mind has been at war for a very long time, survival mode and all that. I'm able to shift my perspective so that I am not self-destructive. I reached a point where I have not been self-destructive in a long time. So I'm very, very thankful for that. And so I think it's very valuable sometimes to just listen to someone talk about it, and that they have been there, but they have a different perspective that is very empowering and enlightening. And that alone can be very healing. We need to hear more voices like that, because you're pretty much saving lives at this point. One of the best accomplishments that I could ever make in this life is to be able to talk someone out of unaliving themselves. And if I've ever done that through the work that I do, I am forever thankful and forever honored that I've been able to help someone who doesn't even know who I am, but they feel moved and healed by the work that I do because they feel like they're understood. That's a major contribution. A lot of people, when they have goals and stuff, when they have certain, it's always something materialistic. It's always me. What can I get out of that? What can I gain out of that? Well, I'm gonna tell you this right now. When I make this content, I may not be making money off of it, but I'm still satisfied with the return in investment, because I know that somebody out there, at least one person, and probably more than one, right? There are certain individuals that are gaining valuable insight, and also feeling like there's people that are being healed through this work. And that alone, that's my return in investment. The return in investment for me is I feel good doing what I do. And if it's actually reaching people that need it, if it's helping the real ones out there, that is the return in investment. That makes me feel motivated to keep going, because at least the message is actually reaching the right people, even if it's a few. It ain't a popularity contest. I don't look at it like that. I don't care if I don't got 1 million subscribers. That's not my concern. My concern is with saving lives. I thank you for listening. Take care and God bless.